Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Andy, and today I'm going to be talking about my first 5 million Rand in sales on Takealot. Just a quick interlude, this video is sponsored by Shopify. So a lot of you guys are in the e-commerce space or you want to be Takealot sellers. I always say diversify and don't let Takealot be your only sales channel. Though it's easy to get started, Shopify can also be very, very easy to get started. I have had WooCommerce stores and I've been in your situation where you're looking for the absolute cheapest and best solution and you think, okay, WordPress, it's free, I'm not going to pay anything, maybe $1 a month for hosting. But trust me, down the line, it becomes a burden. It is not easy to manage. It's difficult, it's complex, there's no support. Shopify at the moment, I think, is $19 a month for anyone in the sub-Saharan Africa. So they've reduced the price quite a lot lately. So check it out again. You can always get a free trial and try it. It's so easy to set up your store. There's a lot of native integrations. So if you want to sync your stock from Shopify to Takealot, they've got a lot of plugins and apps for that, as opposed to WooCommerce, which you're probably going to have a little bit of difficulty getting started on. It's one of those things. It's like having a business bank account. Get something that's going to be reliable, and it's just considerate part of the cost of starting a business. Anyway, back to the video. So if you haven't seen already, I did do a video. You can watch it from over here, and that was my first 1 million, and I went over all the things I learned and all the things that I would have done differently. So if you haven't checked that one, watch it first. Now, for those of you that have seen that video, you would have known that I complained most of that video. I think your first 1 million on Takealot is quite tricky. You're learning everything, you're figuring out, you're getting the handle of the big system. Generally, you're a small guy, you're trying to get started. It's not easy, support doesn't help, but thereafter, I must say, it gets a little bit easier. Just a little bit. Now, I don't want to get too excited and say that it's going to get just like infinitely easier. The things you can't control, like support times, those get easier, and the things you can control, obviously, there are new challenges that you have to face, which I'll talk about. So, number one, in terms of things that I think I've learned in that next stage to 5 million was probably the systems. I had a different idea of what I would need when I got started, and then I got too sort of big, and now changing systems is very complicated and tricky. Obviously, I've built everything myself. You can see all my automation videos as well. And what I'm realizing now is that I probably, if I was starting now, it's not so difficult. Those softwares are available. There's a lot of different integrations between two different things. But the one main thing that I have realized that you do need is you do need to have like warehousing. So previously, I know a lot of you guys know that I've used Xero, and I was always a big fan of Xero. Also a fan of QuickBooks, but those systems don't have inventory management as part of it, and you can't move inventory. And the nature of Takealot having inventory there and inventory on your side is, in two different places is so critical. So that's one thing that you really have to consider. I know Vend is popular, Deer is popular, Zoho inventory is popular. All of them will work as long as you can move that inventory, and then you can obviously either integrate it yourself or you can find someone to integrate it for you. Number two is the buy box. I must say I've tried to battle the buy box. Battling the buy box means that you compete with different people on the same listing. So you create a product. If it's got a barcode like a Samsung Galaxy phone, that's going to be set under the barcode from the manufacturer. Everyone who sells that same phone is going to be on the same listing, and whoever's got the best price will be on top, and generally that's the only person who gets sales unless they run out of stock, and then it'll sort of go to the next person even though the price is a little bit more expensive. So what to do to avoid that is just avoid it entirely. Once you get into the buy box battles, it gets fierce. You can only do so much software-wise to outbid them, but then you have to have different variables and metrics and measures, and then the fees and everything with Takealot already, it just makes it so hard to make some money when doing that. So what you could do is come up with a bit of a branding situation. So co-brand it, have it, if it's a great import, put your own logo on it. That becomes yours. Change the box potentially is something small that you can do, which I know does work. A lot of people have supplemented things, so you can bundle it. So a product, like a Samsung, let's say it's a Samsung phone plus a case, then it becomes its own product. And that way you won't have competition with the buy box. But then someone else could just come and do that same product combo. So you maybe want to have one of those items at least unique. Once you do get into the buy box battle, especially if you get into it with Takealot, it's kind of overs on that product. I would probably try move on and look somewhere else. What you could do to also avoid this, besides all these tips like bundling and this and that, is obviously exclusivity deals with international partners. That's obviously a very good idea, and you can get a little bit of security in terms of what you're selling. Number 3, in contradiction to my previous video, I was using Courier Guy to start off with to deliver my orders to Takealot. Then I started using MDS, which was brilliant. They were so good for the whole sort of 2 or 3 years that I was using them. However, this year I'm back with Courier Guy. It just made sense because all of our e-commerce store non-Takealot orders go with Courier Guy. They're there twice a day at our offices picking up orders. They are a lot cheaper. I know it's not a good thing to always compare just price for price, but even though they're cheaper, I was expecting more issues, and I haven't had more issues. So for the price difference, it's a no-brainer for me at the moment, but I am going to continue to monitor it closely. Number 5 would be using the tools that Takealot gives you to improve your sales. So 1 being promotions, 2 being paid advertising. That's a relatively newish feature. You can actually go as far as to putting ads on the homepage and this and that. They obviously want you to do that. It does give your product a lot of exposure, and as opposed to just expecting the algorithm to push it up, which isn't always guaranteed. So definitely take advantage of the promotions and the advertising spend. It's a no-brainer, especially if it's your only sales channel. Definitely give it a go. Number 6, should you be selling lead time or in stock? You already know the difference, hopefully. That's whether you're sending a customer order straight from your warehouse to Takealot, then Takealot to the customer, or whether it's already stored at Takealot, ready for an order at any time. Obviously, if it's in stock with Takealot, you're going to get a much better conversion rate because customers see it. They know they can get it not now, but like today, or sometimes same day delivery or next day delivery. Hence, you're going to get a lot more sales. When you get more sales, you get more reviews. More reviews means you get better sales. So it's like a nice cycle, and obviously that's a good thing, good way to go. So highly recommend selling in stock, but you have to be careful not to overstock, because then you can also get into expensive fees and other issues like that. So watch it closely. Number 7, still, and I've always perpetuated this, try not to build too much reliance on Takealot as your only sales channel. You can very quickly find that even if you have multiple channels and you're selling on one but on another, people will start to buy from Takealot. Then you start to realize, like, okay, now you're actually becoming more and more of a Takealot business, and then you have reliance on one place and one revenue stream. Though it has worked for sellers on Amazon, I'm sure there's very successful Amazon sellers who are very dependent on Amazon. It is a bit of a gamble and a risk, but there are times where you don't really have control over what happens. For instance, last month Takealot had a search bar issue, which means you searched for something and basically like the wrong results were coming up. That's not going to be anything you can fix. You've just got to sit and wait. I think I heard most people complaining, and sales were down. Some people 30%, some people 50%. And when you halve your sales overnight, you have, generally most businesses are going to have an issue. So that's something to be very careful of. Number 8, one of the most important things that I've learned is not to overcomplicate the accounting. I am an accountant, so I struggled to separate what's essential and what is not essential in terms of how much sort of reporting and this and that you're doing. I think try make the accounting side of it as simple as possible. And then on the other hand, where you have inventory movement, try make that as complicated, well, not as complicated as possible, but as detailed as possible. That's where your information lies. So what I try to do is combine it all, the accounting as well as the inventory movements, all in one sort of big system. It gets way too overwhelming it makes a lot of extra work for people helping you with the accounting side of it. And then it also makes it a lot more work for you to manage it and reconcile it and go back and forth. So try simplify it, maybe even do like a cash approach with Takealot, with the sales coming in, and then have your invoices sort of in another system. So that tracks what you sold, your cost of goods sold, the profit per item. If you've got an inventory management system, this probably won't be a big issue. But trying to raise invoices and do your cost of sales in something like Xero or QuickBooks or Sage isn't really going to be a sustainable choice down the line. And last but not least is compliance. still doesn't really care about you. You really need to get a large catalog and seriously start doing, start doing serious sales to get compliance to care about you. Though they do care about you a little bit more once you get a bit bigger and you get a little bit more established. They're not so strict if we mess up. If we time to time we have late orders and our percentage goes 2 or 3% a little bit above, just could be any number of reasons, they generally just let it slide, which is nervy because they don't have like a warning system or this and that, and then sometimes they're more forgiving than others. Obviously I still recommend to try stay under that level as best as you can, but yeah, it does get a little bit easier, but it's still not something you can expect to change miraculously overnight, that you're going to get all these prime support or premium this or that. So yeah, that's just about it for what I learned. I was going to skip this video and just do the 10 million, but there has been some really important hurdles. Hopefully I have some time to still change some of these suggestions before the 10 million video comes out, and yeah, that way you guys will be able to watch it when it does, and make sure to subscribe so that when it does come out you do get a notification. And until then, peace guys.